Okay guys, so today I am here to talk to you guys about the second installment in my Sephora series, and this is telling you guys why I left Sephora. I'm just going to preface this video by saying that if you did not see my first part of this video, which is talking all about my interview process at Sephora, how to get hired at Sephora, what it's like working at Sephora, you should probably click the link up here, or it's also below in the description box as well, and watch it, because that is a little bit more detailed than this one's going to be, because this one's purely about me and why I left Sephora, as opposed to how I got hired and what it was like working there. I mean, I'm going to touch a little bit on that second part in this video as well, but for the most part, just watch the first one, please. It's so much easier that way. Okay, so where to begin? So about a year into my job at Sephora, so we're talking June 2016, we were on our third manager at that point. My Sephora, because of the size of it and the money that we raked in, had a high turnover rate for my managers. I was there just shy of 2 years, and I had 3 different managers in that time. I had the one that I started with, who then went to another store for the holiday time when another store's manager was on maternity leave. And then, so we had a temporary manager until her store opened, and once her store opened, my first manager came back, and then she quit Sephora altogether, and we had a third manager. So part of the reason I left is that it wasn't a very stable environment. Sephora does have high turnover, meaning that people leave, people move up, people switch stores, people get fired. I mean, things happen. We had people get fired. We had one girl who straight up just walked out and never came back. And you know, it's kind of hard to work in an environment like that where people aren't gonna stick around. I mean, on the one hand, you had the girl who'd been there a week, but you had another girl on my team who'd been there for 6 years. I mean, it was just kind of a toss-up of what kind of people you were gonna be working with. And on that note, I had both really great relationships with people and horrible relationships with people. I had people who took advantage of being in higher up positions and treating people horribly. I had one girl who, when I was hired, was pregnant and kind of used it as a crutch to not, I'm not saying, oh God, this is such a horrible video. I really had a lot of qualms about filming this video, and I'm trying not to get too specific about things. However, I will start off by this. My Sephora is no longer in operation. My Sephora closed in 2017. I think it was in June, maybe. I don't know. It was after I finished working there, so I got out just in time. But my Sephora closed because we had both a theft problem, an internal one and an external one, and B, we were just not a high volume store. We didn't get as many customers as other locations did because we were poorly located. But my store, I think for the amount of work and how much of myself I dedicated to Sephora, I was learning all about stuff. I was doing outside research so I could learn all the newest skincare trends, all the newest makeup trends, things like that. And it was doing nothing for me in my job. I did it for my own personal benefit, so I knew more, so I could answer more questions, because I felt like at times my education that I was receiving from Sephora wasn't enough. I wasn't learning enough about new products, so I had to go out and physically learn about them on my own. And it made it difficult to go anywhere within the company, because I was being paid minimum wage, barely above minimum wage. And you know, you did get, when you were there a year, you get a pay increase of like, you know, 25 cents or something like that per hour. And it just didn't seem fair that for all the work I was doing, all the time and dedication I spent both in and out of my job trying to better myself there, that I was not receiving the same opportunities to move up within the company as other people were. And I had asked for them too. It finally got to the point where the first manager I ever had, when she hired me because I had an operations background. And meaning that I was good at inventory, stocking supplies, cleaning the store, filling things, doing shipment, all that kind of stuff, and doing it fast and accurate. I was really good at that, and it's kind of what I do now in my current job, and I'm good. I'm really good at operational standpoint stuff. And this manager even told me when she hired me, and she later denied ever telling me this, that she thought with my background I would be a perfect candidate to fill in for an employee who had who became pregnant, and we knew she'd be leaving for a while in the near future. At this time it was about June. It was June when I was hired. She told me this during my training in July, and this girl's baby was born in the winter, January or February or something like that, and she was gone starting around Christmas or around New Year's till beginning of March. She was gone for about 8 weeks. So, you know, she was like, we're gonna need someone to take over that position while she's gone. I think you'd be a great person for that, just because you've had the experience doing it. Well, what happened was, so I, you know, accepted the job offer, and then my first day on the job, this girl never talked to me. Never. It took her about 3 months before she would properly talk to me when we were the only ones on the floor. So imagine working an 8-hour shift with one other person who never talks to you. It was so uncomfortable, and I couldn't figure out what I'd done. I was like, you know, did I do something wrong? And then finally one of the other girls, the girl who had been there for many, many years, finally opened up and said, well, she thinks you were hired to replace her altogether, that they're gonna fire her after she has her baby. I'm like, no. And who told her that? Well, the manager had apparently told her that because they're best friends, and made it sound like I was out to get this girl's job, so she hated me for the first 3 months I was there, until I finally told her, look, I was just told that maybe while you're gone be a good temporary fill-in. I'm not taking the job permanently or anything like that. They just want someone who's here and has a background in it to help cover a bit, so that the other girl who's going to be covering your duties isn't going to be drowning in both her duties and your own. That's the only reason. And then she was all of a sudden very nice and happy and bubbly and sparkly. There's a turnover in management. So the girl who was our beauty leader left. She got a job somewhere else and she left Sephora. So there was a move up. So what happened is this girl who didn't like me, who was the operations manager, became our beauty leader. And this girl who was really awesome and nice was all like, oh my God, you're the perfect pick for operations. They should pick you. Because this girl really wanted to be the beauty leader. She'd been there for so long. She was amazing at doing makeup. She had so many loyal people who came back just for her. She'd been there so long. And then they're like, oh no, well, we want her to do it. And even she was like, why would you pick me? I don't even know what I'm doing with operational standpoint. And she would always ask me for help and all this stuff. And it just kind of felt, and even she felt this way, that it was kind of unfair that they passed over a person who had an operational background for someone who didn't even necessarily want the operational position. But they gave it to her because of seniority and because she'd been there longer, and they felt that she deserved it. When she even told me she would have rather held out for the beauty leader position. I liked the physical job of working at Sephora. I liked getting to put people's makeup on, help someone find a new mascara, help someone find a new lipstick, show someone how to change their skincare routine for the better. Stuff like that was loads of fun, and I enjoyed doing it. I made lots of connections with people. I had my own loyal people who came back who were always like, oh, is Kate working today? Oh, I want to schedule a makeover with Kate. My other problem is that it took them so long to schedule my makeup certification. So when you go through certification, you do it in the presence of your beauty educator, the person who comes and teaches you once a month. She was the one who did our certifications for us. First time I did my makeover, I failed. And here's the thing, you have to pass all sections. However, on the positive side, if you fail a section, that's the only thing you have to redo. My problem was that I did all the makeup beautifully. She was like, you did a great job. You did a great job of this. However, you didn't explain enough to the guests and you didn't build the basket enough, so you failed. So I had to retake everything again, which was kind of frustrating. So I took my first test in March because they waited until after the holiday season. You know, I was fully trained in time for holiday to be able to do mini makeovers. And then I had my first certification try in March. Now here's the thing, my store was so small and there were so few people certified to do the makeovers that we were doing them anyway without the certification, which was kind of a no-no, because technically if someone was extremely unhappy with the service, they could have gotten their money back basically because of the fact that we were not certified to be doing it. I mean, it was just basically piecing together all the mini makeovers you do into one makeover, and that's kind of timed because you got 45 minutes to do it, which wasn't bad. I never had anyone fully complain about me personally, but you know, it was just kind of a, okay, if we're not supposed to be doing this, why are you letting us do this kind of thing? I feel like I'm rambling. And then the problem was, because there was a turnover in our beauty educator, we didn't even get educated for 3 months because they couldn't find a replacement for her. Well, the problem was they had someone coming in to replace her, but it was a different person every month, and none of them felt comfortable trying to recertify me because they weren't my permanent beauty educator. So we'd wait till I had one, which we got our new person in, I think it was August of 2016. We lost the first one in May. She left in May. Well, she got moved up higher in the company. So we had our new educator come in, and she said, yeah, great, I definitely want to schedule it now that I know that you've technically done this once before. Let's do it, let's see how you do it. And then my new manager at the time kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, to the point where I wasn't certified until the end of October of 2016. I left in February of 2017. I literally only had 4 months of being able to do makeup. Not even 4 full months, really. Which was kind of frustrating to me considering the fact that I was there for about 20 months. 21 months. So I only had it for a fourth of the time, not even a fourth, a fifth of the time I was certified to do makeovers, which is kind of frustrating because that's how you build a basket, it's how you get more sales. So I felt like it was a little unfair, and I mean, I understood why it happened, but it was very frustrating, to say the least. I think something else that just really sucked was that my first manager I had, every time I asked about the possibility of getting to move up within the company, she would keep telling me, oh, well, you haven't been here long enough for that. Oh, well, you're not experienced enough yet. But then the second manager I had told me point blank, she said, if I hadn't already hired an operations manager for my new store that's opening, I would pick you right now because you're great at it and you're a natural talent for it. But I already hired someone and blah, blah. I'm like, no, that's fine. It's no big deal. If it ever opens up, let me know and I'll fill an application. And she was like, okay, great, yeah. Well, it never opened up in time, so whatever. But it was just frustrating that anytime I had brought up the possibility of moving to a new position, getting the chance to move up into a new position, it was kind of not shut down, but ignored almost, which was a little frustrating for me in an attempt to try and move up in a company, because I would have liked to have become the beauty educator. That's kind of where I wanted to end up at Sephora, was doing what my beauty educator did, going around and teaching everyone about the new products, because I really loved doing that. The other thing was that it was really hard to get hours. Now, I came from Bath & Body Works, where Bath & Body Works at the time, I think they've officially gotten rid of it now, but they still did call-in shifts. Call-in shifts where you'd have a schedule where you'd be scheduled to work a set of like 10 to 12 hours a week. And usually it was one of those was a floor set of some kind. And then maybe one other shift. And then you would have like 4 call-in shifts throughout the week. So you'd be scheduled to call in shift 1 to 6. So you would call at noon and say, do you need me? And then they'd say yes or no. Yes, you came in and you got to work. No, you're not working that day. So you got screwed over for hours a lot. Sephora didn't do that, thankfully. However, preference for extra hours went to the full-time people over the part-time people, because if you were part-time, you didn't get benefits, you didn't get overtime pay, you didn't get any of that, but the full-time people did. So what happened was it would go to them in an attempt to keep it away from us on purpose, kind of. And I get that it was a store policy, a whole bunch of things like that, but still a little unfair for us. The main problem I had was just with the fact that there were people in higher management positions who didn't really care about our input at the lower level. They kind of treated us as servants, isn't the right word, but lackeys. I mean, they really, I mean, it was really just one person in particular who really abused her position of power, and even said horrible things about me to other people in an attempt to keep people from asking me for help with their makeup and stuff like it was just stupid stuff like that, and it was really unfair, especially when it first started, because I was a brand new hire and I was so eager to help, and I wasn't able to help because nobody wanted my help because of her. She also was in charge of kind of educating us when the educator wasn't on the premises, and she didn't even really do that. She was given a set schedule of things to cover, and she'd kind of like blow through it with me. She'd kind of be like, okay, blah, blah, you know how to match foundation, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is new foundation, it's full coverage and radiant or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But then with another person, she'd be like, okay, so if these are people who really liked this foundation, they're gonna be big fans of this one because and she would go more in depth with other people, but now with me. So we weren't receiving consistent training across the board between all of the part-time associates. And the final reason being the culmination of I wasn't getting enough hours, how I was being treated, and the fact that they wouldn't up my pay. At the time, was working 2 jobs. 3 jobs, really, because I was trying to still be an actress at the time. I was working at Sephora part-time, and then I was also working as a substitute teacher on any weekdays I wasn't working. I was making more money as a substitute teacher than I was making at Sephora. Substitute teaching in the school districts I was in paid about $96 before taxes per day. Sephora per day on a regular shift day of 5 hours was paying me $42 before taxes. Before taxes. So for me, it was more beneficial to try and get work only weekends at Sephora, so I could work the weekdays as a substitute teacher and get more money from that. So it was really frustrating to know that, like, I couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't do anything about the pay, and I couldn't request higher pay because I hadn't been there long enough to even put in that request. You had to have been there, I think it was 2 or 3 years before you could even put in a request for that. And technically they give you the blow off line of, well, you do get a pay increase for every year you stay on as a JCPenney associate. I'm like, okay, no, but as someone who had 2 bachelor's degrees, who spoke multiple languages, who was good at their job, who'd never received a complaint, it was just a little frustrating to be stuck at a level where nobody would help me get past. Another reason that I ended up leaving Sephora, and I mean, it's inevitable in any retail job, you're gonna get used to dealing with people who aren't so nice, people who are kind of horrible to you. Some guests were just straight up in a bad mood the minute they walked in, and they're just gonna take it out on you because they don't care. The holidays are especially awful if you work in retail. It doesn't matter where you work, because people don't understand that you're giving up time with your family, your friends, your loved ones to be serving them during the holidays. The amount of people who told me, oh, well, you know, if you went to college, you wouldn't be dealing with this stuff. And for me to tell them, oh, I actually have 2 bachelor's degrees from a highly accredited university that's well known throughout the country. And they'd be like, uh-huh, then why are you working here? Well, then the minute I tell them what my major was, they're like, well, you're so stupid to pick that for a major. Okay, you don't know me, you don't have the right to judge me. You should be judging me solely on the skills I'm producing as an employee of this establishment rather than what you think I am or am not. The town that I worked in was predominantly Hispanic and black. Not a lot of white people, not a lot of Asian people. There were some, but not very many. My store actually was pretty evenly split between all the races. We had, at one point we had 2 of each, 2 black girls, 2 Hispanic girls, 2 white girls. And I did straight up have customers walk in who said, I don't want the white girl doing my makeup. They don't know how to do my makeup properly. I had people who, on an event day where we were supposed to all have crazy bold eye makeup, I remember one day I had this really intense crazy blue eye makeup going on, and I had one woman who said outright, well, I don't want that girl with the ugly ass blue eyeshadow doing my makeup. Well, I was the only person doing makeovers that day, so she didn't really have a choice in the end. It was either me or hope another store could take you at the last minute on New Year's Eve. So just to deal with the snide comments from both customers and coworkers was just a little too much for me. And at that point, after how many years of being in retail, I just couldn't take it anymore from anyone else. So that's basically why I ended up leaving. I started looking for jobs that also gave me benefits because I had had a health scare that year, and I've had a couple more since. So for me, it was just a matter of I needed a job that gave me more than what a retail job could offer. So I started looking for jobs that fit with either of my majors, and I found one. And I'm very happy at my job now. I do like it a lot. I'm doing well there. Sometimes I miss retail. I miss how busy it keeps you and all the craziness, but I just don't know if I could ever see myself going back to a retail job like that. It takes a toll on you. It takes a year off your life at least. I mean, I have strong admiration for anybody I meet in a store anywhere, and I always tell them thank you. I'm always trying to be polite to them no matter how bad my day is going. If they don't warrant it, I'm pretty nice to them. I mean, it's not easy to do, and it's not an easy job. So if you're ever in a store, be nice to the associates, please. You don't know how hard it's been for them, especially at this time of year. It's awful. People are awful during the holidays to retail workers. So the next time you're in a store, tell them thank you, fill out a survey, be nice. Part of that was the reason why I left, is people were just horrible. So yeah, that's just kind of a summary in general of why I left. I know it's kind of not specific. It's not like there was one big blow up that made me go, I hate this, I never want to do this again. It was just kind of the culmination of little things that finally broke, and I just couldn't take it anymore. But yeah, that's basically everything. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this 2-part video. Like I said, part 1 will be linked up here and down below. If you have any questions, further questions about stuff, please leave them down below. I will be doing a post Q&A if I get enough questions from these 2 videos to kind of warrant an answer on anything I didn't get to in these. So yeah, if you guys liked this video, be sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.